I wanted to update you on an important battle for life. And we did some of this throughout the broadcast this week, but this was a major, again, I think it's a victory. Now, again, in these victories, there's things you get almost all the way. So you don't always get exactly what you want because these go before courts. But we're joined now by the Oklahoma House Majority Floor Leader, John Echols. He put together 41 members of the Oklahoma House and Senate, including the State House Majority Floor Leader, John Echols, so that we were able to file an amicus brief representing those House and Senate members in Oklahoma. Leader Echols, tell people about what the court decision did yesterday.
First, thank you so much for having me on today again, and thank you so much for the work we did on the brief. I almost feel bad taking any credit for it. That was your legal team that did a great job getting everybody together. But what the listeners need to know is the Oklahoma Supreme Court, for the first time in the history of this state, found a right to abortion inside the Oklahoma Constitution. It's a very concerning decision.
So they find a right to abortion, but they also uphold a provision that says that there can be a criminal ban on abortion unless it's necessary to preserve the life. They didn't add the health exceptions. They didn't kind of use the language that it kind of broadens it out and almost makes those bans irrelevant. So there is a victory kind of inside of this. While I get your concern that they're even recognizing a right at all as a court, there was a victory inside of that recognition.
That's exactly right. And part of that victory was from the work the ACLJ has done inside specifically Oklahoma, and you've done in a lot of other states, is making sure we don't expand that type of judicial activism. There is still going to be a fight inside the state of Oklahoma that this ruling is limited, and it is a large victory. As you know, we have most of the abortions don't qualify for the life of the mother exception. And frankly, I'm for the life of the mother exception. I disagree strongly with the court that there wasn't already a life of the mother exception. The part that is concerning inside this case is I think the law already had one, and they found that right. But it also goes to show the work you're doing, and I'm so grateful for it, inside the states. The fight in this is fully in the state.
No, it is. I mean, Leader Echols, and I want to go to CC Howell on this too, who leads a lot of our pro-life work on our legal team, and we've seen it in the states. CC, this is I was at a beginning of the day meeting here in Washington D.C. on the effort in Ohio, which is the next ballot effort. And that is a one that's going to be on the ballot that Planned Parenthood is putting on the ballot to get a yes vote to try and put, again, the constitutional right to abortion inside Ohio. CC, as Leader Echols said, because of overturning Roe versus Wade, we know at the ACLJ and through ACLJ action, these battles now are going to be fought state to state and even some cases city to city and town to town.
Absolutely, and we're involved in every one of those fights, in the town level and at the state level. And in this ruling, it's critical to say that preserve the life of the mother. What we always see is that a lot of times that language is broadly interpreted. And I think the court actually identified that you cannot broadly interpret that because they said the mere possibility or speculation of the abortion necessity is insufficient to rise to that level. So, I think there is a win to be had there that the abortion right that they found is a very limited right and only to preserve the life of the mother. And I agree with Leader Echols that exemption or exception was already there, of course, to preserve the life of the mother. If you have two lives and the doctor can only preserve one, he's going to preserve the life of the mother. But I think, although it is disappointing that a technical right to abortion was found here, it is also a win because it's very, very limited and it's not going to be broadly interpreted.
Leader Echols, we're proud to work with you and members of the House and Senate in Oklahoma. What comes next legislatively on this fight? Are you all planning more work on life?
We absolutely. As a matter of fact, I was in Washington, D.C. just last week, and I appreciated Ben Sisney taking me around the ACLJ office, and we talked a lot about what we have going on with the ACLJ inside the state of Oklahoma. What our next steps are going to be, continuing to make sure this is narrowly defined, as CC said, and then we're working towards life in all areas. For example, we're working with the ACLJ in Oklahoma to extend the child tax credit to include children inside the womb. These are the types of things that the next generation of life, because we know as conservatives, what we care about at the end of the day is all life. It's abortion. We are anti-abortion because life is meaningful, life is precious, life is created in the image of God, and it all has value. And I'm very excited to get to work. And we talked, CC, a lot with Ben when I was up in D.C. about what you guys are doing, really being the tip of the spear in this fight, taking it to the state levels.
Yeah, and we're happy to do that, and we're happy to partner with folks like you, Leader Echols. I will say, I came out of a meeting probably similar to the one you had here, but it was with a group, and this was focusing on what's going on in Ohio, another deeply red state, pretty pro-life state, and a ballot amendment put forward by Planned Parenthood and their allies at the ACLU to try to basically have abortion with no restrictions at all, but they're not going to sell it that way. We all know through these recent ballot initiatives, that's not how they're taking it to the voters. But what we have seen through these efforts is a lot more creativity. Like you mentioned, that child tax credit applying to children who are inside the womb. There was a U.S. senator at a meeting today who said, one of the things they're looking at in Ohio is that because Planned Parenthood says, it's very expensive, and if you need a specialist doctor while you're having birth and that person then isn't covered by your insurance, you could get a $15,000 bill, which would wipe out a lot of people, bankrupt some people. So I think we all have to say there's new ways we have to engage this battle to protect human life.
That's exactly right. And we're engaging those on the state level right now to protect human life at all levels and to encourage people to choose life. I was the author in the state of Oklahoma of the Choosing Life credit, where we provided funding to our crisis pregnancy centers to help women that choose life, that choose to give birth. And it's for the reasons we said. We have to define ourselves in the pro-life community as people who are not just anti-abortion, but are pro-life under all circumstances and why. And we're very thankful. I do keep going back to it, but what you guys have set up with your messaging arm is making a difference in states like ours and states like Ohio's.
I appreciate so much. Again, we were talking to the Oklahoma House Majority Floor Leader, John Echols. We represented him, a number of his colleagues in the House and Senate in Oklahoma here in this case, and it was still a big win for life. We'll continue fighting with you, Leader Echols, and appreciate you joining the broadcast today.
Thanks for having me on. It's always an honor, and thanks for all you do.